Hey guys, today we're talking about one of my most mind-blowing experiences. What dream jobs turned out to be absolute nightmares. Some of these sounded amazing on paper. Think luxury travel, game testing, or working behind the scenes on your favorite shows. But in reality, oof. Long hours, crazy clients, shady bosses, burnout, and just stuff you'd never imagine. Get ready for some wild, funny, and downright chilling stories from real people all around the internet, including mine. Boy. Before we jump in, where are you watching from? Let us know your city in the comments. And if you've ever had a dream job turn into a nightmare, we definitely want to hear your story too. All right, let's get into it. So I was 23, fresh out of college, and all I wanted in life was to work in video games. I didn't even care what I did. I just wanted to be around games. So when I landed a position as a QA tester for a pretty well-known studio, I genuinely thought I'd made it. I updated my LinkedIn immediately. I told all my friends. My mom cried. It was a big deal. I imagined days of playing the latest RPGs, giving feedback, maybe rubbing shoulders with the devs. I thought I'd work my way up, maybe even pitch my own game one day. Getting paid to play video games, isn't that the dream? Yeah, about that. Day one, we get ushered into this bland gray office with no windows. The testing lab is just a series of battered desks and even more battered PCs. Each desk has a chair with one broken wheel, a mouse that squeaks when you click it, and sticky note instructions like "don't touch, monitor brightness." They give us this welcome packet that's literally just an NDA, a thin pamphlet on bug logging, and a warning not to talk to the devs unless spoken to. My supervisor, who I'll call Greg, tells us, testing is not playing, it's breaking. That became the mantra. It's not playing, it's breaking, which is a nice way of saying congratulations. You now live inside the same 3 levels of a barely functioning game for 9 hours a day. Your soul is now optional. The first project I worked on was a third-person shooter. Our task: repeatedly walk our character up to walls, furniture, stairs, anything, and try to glitch through them. That was it. For 4 weeks. Left, right, diagonal, crouch, jump, spin, try to clip. Log the bug if you do. Log a no repro if you don't. And you better not miss one. You know how most people think of testing as like, ooh, you get to explore the whole game early. Yeah, no. Most of the time, the game doesn't even have textures yet. You're walking around gray cubes with names like chair _large _02, trying not to fall through the floor, which you will. Repeatedly, and the bugs, oh my god. At one point, there was a weird memory leak that made our characters stretch into noodle people if we left the menu open too long. Like Slenderman in Hot Yoga. I actually laughed the first time it happened. Greg did not laugh. Greg just handed me a clipboard and said, repro it 20 more times. Here's the thing. You'd think this would be tolerable if the people were cool. And some were. But the overall vibe is burnt out, caffeine dependent, twitchy. Everyone looked like they hadn't seen sunlight since 2019. You're not allowed to have your phone out. Breaks were micromanaged, and crunch season. Don't get me started. We had one dev, super nice guy, who would sneak us donuts and try to keep morale up. One day he stopped coming in. We found out later he'd been pulled into a crunch team working 16-hour days on another title. We never saw him again. And the pay? Barely above minimum wage? No benefits. Most of us were on 3-month contracts. No guarantee of renewal. One guy got let go because he submitted too many bugs. Let me repeat that. He found too many problems, made the game look bad, so they cut him. By the end of month 2, I stopped playing games at home entirely. The joy was just gone. I'd boot something up and get flashbacks to bug tickets and repro steps. My brain started scanning for clipping issues. I couldn't even relax in Skyrim anymore. I finally quit when I had a stress dream about the Xbox controller vibrating for no reason, and I couldn't log the bug. I remember telling my roommate I just want to enjoy a game again without being scared of a spreadsheet. Looking back, I get why some people love QA. If you're wired for it, it's a great foot in the door, but it wasn't the dream I thought it was. For me, the nightmare part wasn't even the repetition or the bugs. It was how little anyone seemed to care. Like the testers were disposable, a necessary evil. One step above crash test dummies. Anyway, I work in marketing now. I still game. But I play very slowly, and I never clip into walls. So yeah, turns out playing games for a living can mean watching a menu screen crash for 6 hours straight. But dream jobs aren't just about fun industries. Sometimes, it's the ones that seem the most luxurious that are secretly the most soul-crushing. Let's move on. So, here's how it started. I was 27, working at a boutique hotel kitchen in LA. I'd just finished culinary school a couple years before. I was grinding away at the line every night, sweating through my whites, trying not to cry over split. Then this guy walks in. A fixer, or personal assistant. For a high-profile celebrity I obviously can't name, but let's just say this person has starred in multiple blockbuster franchises and is known for their clean lifestyle and being spiritual. Anyway, the assistant tries the tasting menu, compliments the seasoning, asks who cooked the salmon, and 2 days later I'm getting a call. Would you be open to a private chef role for a VIP client? Cue me thinking, dream, job. No more dinner rush chaos, no more screaming sous chefs, no more angry Yelp reviewers complaining about too much fennel. Just me, cooking beautiful meals in a gorgeous Hollywood mansion, getting paid more than I've ever seen in my life. I said yes, of course I did. I packed my knives, bought a new chef coat, and showed up at their gated estate ready to be Julia freaking Child. And that's when things got weird. First red flag, I was told I'd be living on site. I assumed this meant like a guest house or poolside cottage. Nope, they had me sleep in what used to be a pantry. Like, literally a pantry that had been cleared out and fitted with a cot, a tiny window, and a hot plate just in case I got hungry. It was right off the kitchen. No bathroom. I had to use the staff one outside in the garden. They called it the chef's nook. But I was still trying to be positive. Thought, okay, it's weird, but I'm working for a major celeb. Maybe it's temporary. Maybe I'll prove myself and move into the actual guest house. Spoiler. I never even saw the guest house. Second red flag. The food. Not the quality. The absurdity. The celebrity was on this bizarre, holistic cleanse that changed every week based on what their astrologer said. I'm not joking. 1 week it was no purple foods. The next week it was only root vegetables that grow eastward. I once had to make a smoothie using moon water, which is apparently just water that sat under a full moon overnight. And it had to be harvested at exactly 3:07 a.m. when Saturn was in retrograde. Their assistant knocked on my door. Sorry, my pantry at 2:45 a.m. with a mason jar like, time to go. I also wasn't allowed to cook with anything from Big Ag. All ingredients had to come from small batch, vertically integrated regenerative farms, most of which were in Oregon. I spent more time sourcing carrots than actually cooking. Third red flag. The hours. Oh my God. The hours. The celebrity didn't eat on a normal schedule.
Act.
They followed what they called intuitive consumption, which meant I could get summoned to make breakfast. At 4 p.m. or dinner at 3 a.m., one time they wanted air-fried kelp tacos in the middle of a full moon sound bath.
Act.
I couldn't use onions because they trap negative energy. I never knew if I was on or off. Even when I wasn't cooking, I was expected to be present and available. I got a text once saying I didn't cut the zucchini with enough serenity. I wish I was kidding and the PE look. Technically, it was good. But after taxes and the fact that I couldn't leave the estate, I felt like a well-paid hostage. The breaking point came when I was asked to prepare a dolphin-safe vegan tuna tartare using no soy, no legumes, no salt, no fake meat, and no chopping. I stared at the assistant and said, "So you want me to make raw vegan tuna tartare? Without fish, soy, or a knife?" She nodded and whispered, "It's for the aura." I went back to my pantry, packed my knives, and left at 2 a.m. I ended up taking a job as a prep cook at a retirement home. Paid less, but guess what? Nobody screamed at me for misaligning the energy of a carrot. And the best part? I have my own bathroom now. So yeah, being a private chef might sound glamorous, but sometimes it's just culinary cosplay for the spiritually constipated.
Us.
Speaking of jobs that seem fun until you're knee-deep in absurd requests, let me tell you what it was like working as a flight attendant for a luxury airline. You know that fantasy people have about being a flight attendant? Jet-setting to exotic cities? Looking effortlessly chic in tailored uniforms? Flirting with pilots in the galley? Sipping espresso in Rome one day? Shopping in Tokyo the next? Yeah, that's not what it was. Let me paint the real picture, the one I actually lived. So I worked for a luxury charter airline that catered exclusively to celebrities, CEOs, and those weird crypto people who wear flip-flops on private jets. Think ultra-private flights, custom interiors, monogrammed eye masks, and menus curated by Michelin chefs. Sounds amazing, right? That's what I thought too. I applied on a whim during a quarter-life crisis, got fast-tracked because I speak 2 languages, and next thing I knew, I was in a tiny conference room, being told to smile with my teeth but not my eyes, and to never, under any circumstances, acknowledge a passenger's real identity unless they said it first. The training was intense, like hostage negotiator meets beauty pageant intense. We were taught how to mix cocktails, plate with tweezers, fold Hermes blankets like origami, and gracefully handle emergencies, like if someone's dog pooped on the white leather seats. But none of that prepared me for what it was actually like to serve people who live in a different reality. First flight out, we're flying this tech mogul and his entourage from San Francisco to Singapore. He's got this emotional support Pomeranian that wears Gucci booties. Midway through the flight, he complains that the caviar is too cold. Mind you, I followed the temperature protocol exactly. We're talking precise storage, correct silver spoon, custom dish. But apparently cold caviar means I'm hostile to the experience. He literally made me warm it with my hands, like, hold the dish until it hit the right mouthfeel zone. I wish I was making this up. And then there were the requests. Oh God, the requests. One guy asked me to remove all the green M&Ms from a crystal dish, because they make me feel unproductive. Another wanted the cabin to smell like a pine forest, but only Alaskan pine, not Canadian. Someone once tried to bribe me $500 to let them vape mid-flight, then got mad when I said no and accused me of destroying his dopamine timeline. But the worst? The entitlement? They didn't just treat you like staff, treated you like furniture with a heartbeat. Once got snapped at like a dog because I didn't refill someone's champagne fast enough. We'd hit turbulence. I was literally holding the cart to stop it from flipping. And this guy just snaps his fingers like I'm invisible unless I'm pouring him Dom. I'll never forget this one couple. They flew from New York to Paris and brought their own chef on board, so I wasn't even cooking. My only job was to heat up the dishes and serve them in courses. The woman made me stand by her seat for the entire meal. Like, just stand there, so she could snap her fingers every time she needed something. She could have reached the call button, she could have spoken, but no, she just wanted to snap. It was 8 hours of standing, smiling, and pretending I didn't hear them argue about how poor people love complaining. But here's the wild part. You can't break character. You can't cry. You can't even sigh. If you do, they report you to the company, and you get pulled from rotation. I watched coworkers disappear over things like mismatched napkin folds, or not laughing at jokes that weren't even jokes. It's just statements with punchline energy. Oh, you actually fly commercial. Pause for laughter. Eventually, I stopped seeing cities. I'd land in Hong Kong or Dubai, but we'd stay in the same 5-star airport hotel, sleep for 6 hours, and get back on the next plane. Jet lag was constant. I lost 10 pounds. My skin freaked out. My sense of time disintegrated, and my mental health. Let's just say I had an existential crisis in the bathroom of a Gulfstream G650 while refilling someone's pH-balanced water. I quit mid-flight. Not dramatically, I didn't jump out or anything. But halfway through a return trip from the Maldives, I looked at my reflection in the mirrored bulkhead, holding a tray of artisanal macarons, and I just snapped. I didn't serve dessert. I walked into the crew rest compartment and texted my resignation. Then I emerged, handed off the tray, and rode out the next 7 hours in silence. Now, I work at a travel agency. I still book flights, just for regular people. People who say thank you and don't demand I align their chakras midair. Funny how luxury looks so good until you're the one behind the curtain, huh? So yeah, turns out flying first class feels very different when you're the one reheating lobster. Bisque at 37,000 feet. Let's keep it moving. You ever think about how being famous must be a blast? Lights, camera, red carpets? Well, here's what actually happened when I worked as a PA for a B-list actor having an A-list meltdown. You know how people say never meet your heroes? I'd like to add, and definitely don't work for them when they're going through a public meltdown. So here's what happened. A few years ago, I got hired as a personal assistant to a mid-level celebrity. Not an Alistair, but definitely recognizable. The kind of person who has a Netflix show, 1 million plus Instagram followers, and paparazzi who stalk their juice bar runs. To keep things vague, let's just say they were known for being relatable and down to earth. Spoiler, they were not. Now, I'd worked as a PA before, mostly for executives. I knew how to deal with high-strung people, but nothing prepared me for Hollywood emotional management. 101. Day 1, I thought I'd be running errands, organizing schedules, maybe coordinating with their agent, classic assistant stuff. Nope, my first task, go on Twitter and delete every tweet with the word love in it. Apparently, a gossip blog had caught wind that this celebrity's relationship was on the rocks, and instead of releasing a simple statement, they wanted to orchestrate a full-on digital breakup narrative. I wasn't just deleting tweets. I was rewriting a public perception. They handed me a handwritten timeline, I kid you not, of key mood shifts. They wanted their fans to notice over the next 3 weeks. It included things like week 1, post more spiritual quotes, fewer selfies. Week 2, use sad emojis, like the droplet one. Week 3, subtly like tweets about heartbreak, but also empowerment. I wish I was joking. They also made me email a list of approved influencers, people they were friends with, and asked them to casually unfollow their partner at staggered times. It was like watching a PR breakup play out like a Netflix script. And through all of this, I'm basically living in their guest house, working 14-hour days, no overtime, no boundaries. They'd text me at 2 a.m. like, do you think my nose looks different in this lighting? Or should I archive this reel from Cabo? But here's where it went from weird to nightmare. About 2 weeks into the breakup rollout, they changed their mind. Suddenly, they didn't want to break up publicly anymore. They were back together, kind of, but still wanted to keep the sympathy narrative going because, and I quote, "It's testing really well," I asked. Testing well with who? They said my inner circle and the algorithm. So now, I had to pivot the whole vibe. I started adding cryptic messages like maybe some things are worth fighting for. And the heart is complicated, y'all. I even had to post a black and white photo of them staring out a rainy window with the caption, "Growth doesn't always look like progress." Meanwhile, they were literally FaceTiming their partner from the hot tub while I wrote all this melodramatic content from a beanbag in the living room. I was living in a lie, inside the lie, promoting the lie. And the worst part was actually getting kind of good at it. I started anticipating their mood swings before they did. I'd prep captions in advance based on whether they had a therapy session that day. I developed an entire emoji language for passive-aggressive affection. Oh, and they had a dog. It's not a cute, chill dog, but a high-strung, constantly shaking Pomeranian named Kale, and I was basically its emotional support human. One time, the celeb screamed at me for taking Kale on a walk without asking how she felt emotionally that day. I lasted for months. The final straw was when they asked me to leak their own surprise encounter with their ex to TMZ staged. Obviously, to kick off a redemption arc for their next project. That's when I realized I wasn't a PA. I was a screenwriter for a fake life. I left the job, blocked the number, and took a break from social media for 6 weeks. To this day, I still see fans reposting quotes I wrote for that breakup that wasn't. People go, "They're so deep," and I just want to comment, that was me on my 3rd iced coffee at 2 a.m., trying not to cry over the dog barking at a throw pillow. But hey, I learned that sometimes dream jobs are just really well lit, lies with a filter slapped on top. So yeah, next time you see a celebrity post about healing journeys, just remember, there's probably a tired assistant behind that, quote, Googling synonyms for transcend. Speaking of healing journeys, ever wonder what it's like to work as a cruise ship performer? Let's just say the sea is not always soothing. So I've always been a theater kid. You know the type, jazz hands, triple threats, awkwardly belting show tunes at cast parties. When I got the job offer to be a lead singer on a luxury cruise ship, it felt like a dream. I imagined sparkly costumes, tropical ports, standing ovations, and free food. I mean, performing while traveling the world? Come on, what could go wrong? Short answer? Everything. But the weirdest part wasn't the pay, the long hours, or the fact that I was once served gray chicken in the crew mess. It was the ghost in the theater. Let me explain. Cruise ships have this strange, floating high school energy. The cast lives together, eats together, rehearses together, and gossips relentlessly. You get cliques, showmances, rivalries, the whole drama club experience. But now you're all trapped on a boat for 6 months. My ship was old, like built before the internet old. Still had analog clocks and carpet that looked like it came from a bowling alley in 1987. The main theater was this massive 900-seat space with thick velvet curtains and this strange cold spot backstage left. No matter the weather, it was always freezing there. On my third day on board, the lighting tech, a super chill Australian guy named Cal, told me, "Oh yeah, that corner's haunted, but she's friendly. Just don't whistle." I thought he was joking, but every person I talked to had a story. "Oh, you mean the lady in white?" one of the dancers said, casually stretching into the splits. She watched me change once. Apparently, a performer fell from the catwalk decades ago during load-in for a holiday review. Rumor was she still lingered in the theater, watching rehearsals, slamming doors when she didn't like the blocking. I didn't believe any of it until the night I stayed late to run a solo. It was week 5. I had just gotten bumped up to sing the big ballad in our 70s medley, Alone Again by Gilbert O'Sullivan. We were in port, so the theater was empty except for me, a CD player hooked to the soundboard, and that one weird chair in the back row that always swiveled on its own. I started singing. First verse, smooth. Second verse, the lights flickered. I figured it was just old wiring. This ship flickered like a haunted house on a good day, but then the air changed. It wasn't just cold, it was dense, like something heavy was watching. Then, mid-bridge, no warning, the soundboard cut out completely, total silence, and then I heard it, a soft, breathy hum behind me. I turned so fast I almost rolled my ankle in my character heels. Nobody was there, but the air smelled like lilacs, old perfume, not the cheap kind either, like something your great-aunt would keep in a crystal bottle from the 1940s. I called out, "Hello?" Silence, then a thump. One of the light gels fell from the catwalk, just dropped. No breeze, no shake, just plop. I noped out of there, left the CD player, left my water bottle, ran straight to the cast cabin like a scared chihuahua. I didn't go back alone again, but the ghost? She wasn't done with me. Over the next few months, she made her presence known, always during rehearsals, always when someone was off. If a dancer missed their cue, bang, a light would flicker. If someone hit a sour note, a backstage door would creak open slowly like it was disappointed, but weirdest of all, she liked me. After that first encounter, I started noticing little things. My mic always worked when others cut out. The quick change dress was always the one costume that got steamed on time, even if no one claimed to have done it. And once, during a tech run, I tripped on a wire going full speed and didn't fall. Something caught me, I swear. Should have face-planted into the pit, but I felt this cold whoosh at my back, and I just stayed upright. I told Cal, the lighting guy, shrugged and said, "Told you not to whistle. She likes soloists." The rest of the contract went fine. Ghosty McDetterlottie stayed chill, as long as we hit our marks and nobody got cocky. But on closing night, as the curtain fell and the cast took their final bows, all the stage lights blinked off at once. Every single one. We stood there in pitch darkness for 3 seconds, and then they all came back on. Applause, confetti, everyone smiled, except me. Because I swear in that moment of blackout silence, I heard her whisper right next to me, "Bravo." After I got off that ship, I told myself I imagined it. Stress, isolation, theater brain. But every now and then, I get a whiff of that lilac perfume and feel that little cold spot at the back of my neck. And I think about the ghost who gave better notes than most directors I've worked with. Okay, so maybe being a cruise ship entertainer wasn't the relaxing, sparkly dream I imagined? Ghosts and soggy buffet eggs don't exactly scream dream job, huh? But if that was haunting, wait till you hear what it's like to be a wedding planner for the world's most toxic couple. You ever have a moment where time just stops, not because it's beautiful, not because it's profound, but because your brain just full-on blue screens from sheer what the actual hell energy? Yeah, that was me. In the middle of a Tuscan vineyard, standing next to a roast pig and a DJ in a fedora, while the groom got down on one knee and proposed to me. I've been a wedding planner for years. It's mostly spreadsheets, floral emergencies, and gently talking brides out of thinking mason jars are elevated. I've seen it all: cake disasters, ring bearer fistfights. That one mother of the bride who wore a literal wedding dress to her daughter's ceremony. That, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for Jared and Alyssa. I met them at a wedding expo. She was sweet, very Pinterest board, into neutral palettes and string lights. He was intense. Like overconfident finance bro energy who shook my hand too long and said things like, "We want our wedding to feel like a tech IPO, smooth and scalable." I should have known then. Their wedding was set for this beautiful villa in Tuscany. Destination weddings are always chaotic, but I was up for the challenge. The couple hired me for full planning, which meant I was working with them for a year and a half. Zoom calls, vendor negotiations, menu tastings, even family therapy level drama, you name it. But throughout the whole process, something felt off with Jared. He was overly friendly, always texting me at weird hours, asking about my personal life, commenting on my photos with... Once, he sent me a Spotify playlist called Songs for Late Nights and said, "Thought you might like these while planning timelines." I pretended it was a weird professional gesture. I was wrong. The red flags started waving harder when we landed in Italy. Alyssa was stressed. Family stuff, dress alterations, the usual. And Jared. Jared was suddenly my shadow, following me to vendor meetings, inviting himself to lunch when I was trying to scarf down a panini in peace. Once, I caught him sniffing the scarf I'd left on a chair. I told myself he was just awkward. Then came the rehearsal dinner. It was this beautiful evening. Golden light, long wooden tables under olive trees, laughter, clinking glasses. Everyone was tipsy and relaxed. The bride gave a toast. The parents cried. The caterer brought out wild boar and truffle risotto. It was perfect, until Jared stood up, tapped his glass and said, "I have one more toast. For someone who made all of this possible." I smiled, assuming he was going to thank the vendors. Nope, he starts talking about me, like intimately. From the first meeting, I knew she was different, smart, stunning, always 2 steps ahead. She's everything I never knew I needed. I froze. Everyone turned to look at me. Alyssa laughed nervously. "Babe," Jared just kept going. "I can't imagine this weekend without her, or my life, honestly." And then he got down on one knee, in front of 80 people, the ring, a different ring. I felt all the blood leave my body, couldn't even move. Alyssa was frozen like someone had unplugged her. Her mom screamed. The DJ turned the music off mid-song. The pig roast guy dropped his tongs. "Will you marry me?" Jared asked. I blinked and said, "What are you doing?" And Jared, completely serious, goes, "Being honest for the first time in my life." Alyssa started crying. Her dad lunged at Jared. Guests were yelling. Jared just stayed on his knee like he thought I'd be flattered. I ran, like Fulton bolted down a vineyard path in heels. Eventually, the wedding was canceled. Obviously. Alyssa's family paid me in full, and then some, apologized profusely, and told me Jared had a history of impulsive behavior, and that this wasn't the first time he'd emotionally wandered. Apparently, he'd tried to hook up with a bridesmaid at his own engagement party, too. I spent the rest of the weekend helping Alyssa book a solo tour of Italy. She turned it into a breakup healing trip. Good for her. As for Jared, last I heard he moved to Bali to work on a startup and grow a beard. Gross, that moment in the vineyard. It taught me that no matter how much experience you have, dream jobs can turn into soap operas real quick. Especially when your client tries to make you the main character. Yeah. So if you're a wedding planner and the groom starts sending you playlists, just go ahead and draft that cancellation contract early. All right, let's keep this chaos rolling. Ever wonder what it's like to literally shovel poop for a living, but make it luxury? Coming up next. So here's a fun fact about me. I used to wear a tuxedo to work, to serve filet mignon to poodles. Yep, that's real. That happened. Let me take you back to one of the strangest jobs I've ever had, working at a luxury pet spa. Not just any pet spa, the most exclusive one in my city. Think crystal water bowls, velvet shades, lounges, and calming essential oil diffusers set to frankincense and lavender dreams. It's the kind of place where a dog's spa day costs more than my rent. I got the job right out of college. I was broke, had a theater degree, and would have taken anything that wasn't retail. A friend told me about a place hiring pet hospitality coordinators, and I was like, that sounds fake, but okay. Turns out it was very real, and very weird. The interview was conducted by a woman named Giselle, who wore designer heels and smelled like a rich person's purse. She asked me serious questions like, are you comfortable spoon-feeding small dogs? And can you identify a bitchin' by bark alone? Nodded yes to everything because I needed money. Somehow I got hired. Day one, I was issued a uniform. Black slacks, white shirt, and, wait for it, a bow tie.
Oh.
They wanted us to look formal but inviting, like a modern D at a five-star bistro. They catered exclusively to animals. My job duties? Escorting dogs to their private suites, reading bedtime stories to anxious shih tzus, administering paw balm and aromatherapy paw soaks, organizing birthday parties complete with organic peanut butter cakes, and my favorite, calming a neurotic Italian greyhound with Inya on loop. Let me tell you, rich people's dogs live better than most humans. There was one Pomeranian named Duchess, who had a full-time dietitian and refused to eat.
Unless her food was shaped like stars.
A bulldog named Henry Winston III only drank cucumber water, served chilled. With a bendy straw, one client had a Maltese that had dog lash extensions. But the wildest moment? That came during Wellness Wednesday, a weekly event where dogs received massages, Reiki, and spiritual alignment assessments. One Wednesday, the spa booked a dog psychic. Yep, a literal dog whisperer named Ivana, who wore flowing robes and claimed to speak in vibration. She sat in a lotus pose, placed crystals around a schnauzer named Bobo, and said, he is carrying trauma from a past life. He was a pirate and the owner. She gasped and whispered, that explains the growling at seagulls. I wanted to laugh, cry, maybe scream. But I nodded solemnly and wrote possible pirate trauma on Bobo's wellness chart. Now, not all of it was ridiculous. Some of those animals were genuinely sweet. I had a soft spot for this old retriever named Max, who loved Baccello sweets and would rest his head in my lap during spa treatments. His owner was low-key and just wanted him to feel calm and safe in his old age. I respected that. The majority, they were. Extra. The tipping point came one night during our moonlight meditation walk, where we were supposed to guide dogs along a scented garden path under string lights. I had 6 dogs leashed to me, 2 wearing rhinestone vests, 1 in a stroller. When a raccoon darted across the path, chaos. The dogs lunged. I got dragged into a koi pond. Pekingese in the stroller barked so hard she vomited truffle treats. My bow tie floated away like a sad little raft. The next day, I quit. I left the job with a deeper understanding of 2 things. Rich people will do anything to feel like their pet is living its best life. I was not emotionally stable enough to be screamed at, because a poodle's aromatherapy diffuser wasn't bergamot forward enough. Do I miss the dogs a little? Do I miss the owners who asked me to address their pets as Mr. and Lady? Not even a bit. So yeah, if your dream is to work with animals, just know it might include being spiritually judged by a pug in a Gucci sweater. But hey, at least I wasn't physically harmed, which is more than I can say for the guy in the next story, who found out the hard way that working at a haunted house isn't just fake blood and jump scares. So, I love Halloween. I mean, really love it. The costumes, the candy, the spooky vibes. I live for it. Which is probably why in college I took a seasonal job working at a haunted house. It seemed like a dream gig at the time. Scare people, wear creepy makeup, maybe get a little fake blood on my shoes. What could go wrong? Well, almost everything, actually. I got hired at this massive haunted attraction just outside the city. It was built inside an old warehouse and had multiple themed rooms. Creepy clowns, deranged doctors, zombie outbreaks, you name it. My section was the abandoned asylum, which was basically an excuse to scream in a straitjacket and crawl around in the dark. I played a character named Nurse Ivy, who'd pop out from behind a cracked mirror and hiss things like, "It's time for your injection." Creepy? Sure, but I loved it. We had fog machines, flashing lights, ambient groaning sounds. The whole setup was legit. Our job was to scare, not touch. We were told over and over, never ever make physical contact with guests, no matter what. We also had a panic signal, a hidden button in each room that we could press if someone got too aggressive or dangerous. I didn't think I'd ever need it, until this one Friday night. It was raining, packed, and rowdy. Could feel the chaos in the air. Teens trying to act tough, couples clinging to each other, people hyped up on funnel cake and adrenaline. I was crouched in my usual hiding spot, waiting for the next group to come through. I heard them before I saw them, loud, cursing, already joking about how nothing could scare them. Then they entered the room. There were 3 of them, late teens, maybe early 20s. 2 guys and a girl. The girl was clearly uncomfortable, holding one of the guy's arms. The other guy, let's call him Tank Top, because he was wearing one in October, was already looking around with a smirk like he wanted to break something. I popped out like I always did, delivered my line, and hissed at them with my usual twitchy performance. The girl screamed. One guy laughed, and Tank Top punched me in the stomach. Hard I dropped like a sack of bricks, couldn't breathe. I heard him yell, "Oh, Shasterisk T." I thought she was fake, as I curled into a ball. My mic crackled. Someone from control had seen it on the camera. Sirens started going off in the staff channel. Security was alerted. But by the time they made it to my room, Tank Top was already hauling it down the hallway, laughing. Security eventually caught him outside, claimed it was self-defense, said he got startled and reacted instinctively. The manager was livid. They banned him, obviously, and filed a police report, but I never heard if anything came of it. I ended up with bruised ribs and a minor concussion. And you'd think that would be the worst of it, right? Oh no. That same season, someone bit an actor in the clown room. Another time, a guest peed their pants and tried to accuse us of psychological abuse. By the end of October, I was done. Turns out when you combine dark spaces, jump scares, and unhinged people, things get dangerous real fast. Haunted houses sound fun, till you're locked in a fake asylum, while some guy with more energy drinks than brain cells tries to fight a demon nurse. Would I do it again? Maybe, but only if I get to wear full body armor and a panic button on a lanyard. So yeah, just remember, some people go to haunted houses looking for a scare, and others show up ready to swing. But not every nightmare job involves blood and bruises. Sometimes the horror is corporate, like when your dream of being a movie critic slowly morphs into reviewing movies you're legally not allowed to hate. So here's the thing. I became a film critic because I love movies. I grew up on grainy VHS tapes, late-night double features, and arguing about Kubrick with strangers on internet forums. It was the dream. Get paid to watch movies and have opinions? Sign me up. And for a while, it was amazing. I had a column in a mid-sized entertainment blog, made decent money writing reviews, doing interviews, attending press screenings. I'd get invited to festivals, walk little red carpets, shake hands with actors who were shorter than me in real life. It was surreal. But then, the dream got weird. It started with a screening of a high-budget fantasy film. You know the kind. Lots of CGI, a big-name lead actor trying to look serious while wearing elf ears. The movie was awful, like offensively bad. Dialogue so wooden you could build a shed with it. Plot holes the size of continents. I wrote an honest review. Not cruel, just fair. Said it felt like a bloated mess with zero emotional payoff. Gave it 2 out of 5 stars. That's when the emails started. First one was polite. Hey, we'd love to work more closely with your publication for future releases. Perhaps you'd consider revisiting your tone. The second one was less subtle. We're reconsidering your access to upcoming premieres if your reviews continue in this direction. By the third, they didn't even bother pretending. We'd be willing to offer a promotional partnership fee if your future content reflects a more brand-friendly tone. Translation, say nice things, and we'll pay you. Say bad things, and you're out. Now, this wasn't bribery in the legal sense. They weren't handing me envelopes of cash in back alleys. It was more gentle manipulation. Like, we'll pay for your hotel at Cannes if you maybe overlook the fact that our lead actor can't act. And look, I get it. The entertainment industry is a machine. Studios want positive buzz. A bad review from a mid-level critic like me wasn't going to tank a blockbuster, but enough of us together, it could sway opening weekend numbers. Still, I tried to hold the line, till they started blacklisting me. I'd show up to a screening and find my name mysteriously missing. PR folks stopped returning my emails. Invitations dried up. And other critics, they stayed silent. Because a lot of them were taking the deals. One friend, who I won't name, He admitted he had a contract that paid him to highlight positive themes in his reviews, which basically meant turning every movie into a 4-star masterpiece of emotion and spectacle. Eventually, I got offered a real deal myself. A major studio offered me a retainer to write monthly editorial features, which were basically fluff pieces disguised as journalism. I'd still get to see movies early, still get press perks, but I had to stop writing reviews. Just coverage, hype, buzzwords. It was soul-sucking. I lasted 3 months before I quit. Now I freelance, mostly on my own blog. I still review films, just without the red carpet access or fancy junkets. I miss the glamour sometimes, but I don't miss the compromise. Here's the wildest part. Most people don't realize how deep this stuff goes. So many critic quotes you see in trailers, pulled from friendly bloggers who got a gift basket and a preview pass. Not all critics sell out, of course. There are still good ones fighting the good fight. But let's just say, next time you see someone calling a movie a dazzling thrill ride in a commercial, maybe check to see if that person also posted an Instagram story from a free stay at the Four Seasons that week. Because that dream job, it came with a script of its own. Yep, turns out the scariest thing in Hollywood isn't the monster on screen. It's the contract behind the scenes. And for our last story, let's shift gears. Because sometimes the dream job isn't something flashy or public, it's just a quiet, steady role. Until someone dies and suddenly you're the prime suspect. Yeah, buckle up. So, have you ever had a job that was so boring, it started to feel creepy? That's what working night security was like for me. I was fresh out of school, in that weird space where you're not sure what you're doing with your life. And I got a gig as the overnight security guard for a mid-rise office building downtown. Think beige carpet, fluorescent lights, endless cubicles. The kind of place where paperclips go to die. My hours were 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. I had a little desk in the lobby, a key card, and access to a few cameras. My job was basically to walk the floors once an hour, make sure no one had broken in, and then sit around doing nothing until morning. And for the first couple months, it was exactly that, nothing. Sometimes I'd watch raccoons digging in the dumpster out back. Occasionally someone would forget their laptop and pop in late to grab it. Mostly, it was just me, bad coffee, and murder podcasts to stay awake. But then, one night everything changed. It was a Thursday, I remember that clearly. Around 2:30 a.m. I was doing my usual floor check. Badge in hand, slow walk, flickering fluorescent lights humming overhead. I got to the 6th floor, an accounting firm's offices, and something immediately felt off. The air was heavy. I know that sounds dramatic, but I swear it was like the whole floor had this weird pressure to it. Like walking into a room where someone had just been arguing. I turned the corner past the copier and froze. There was a man slumped against the wall near the break room, wearing a dress shirt. His head tilted at a strange angle. One shoe off. At first I thought, maybe he passed out, maybe he's drunk. But the moment I stepped closer, I knew something was very wrong. His eyes were open, and he wasn't breathing. I radioed it in, tried to remember my emergency training, which, by the way, no one ever actually teaches you in these kinds of jobs. They just hand you a flashlight and hope for the best. The police arrived in what felt like forever. Turns out the guy was an employee, mid-level analyst, worked long hours. No sign of a break-in, no trauma, no obvious cause. Eventually, they ruled it a heart attack. Sudden, tragic, natural causes. But here's where it gets weird. The building had motion sensor logs, and when they reviewed the logs and footage, there was no record of him entering the building that night. No keycard swipe, no front desk check-in, no elevator activity, just appeared. Now obviously there's always a rational explanation. Maybe he came in earlier and the system glitched. Maybe he was in a part of the building that didn't log correctly. But even the building manager was confused. And so was I after that. Things got weirder. A few nights later, I was doing rounds again, same floor. Walked past the break room. The automatic coffee maker turned on by itself. I hadn't touched anything. It just whirred to life and brewed a full pot of coffee at 2:43 a.m. Another time. I swore I saw someone walking past the printer room on the camera feed. I went up. Nobody there. But the printer was warm and had just spit out 3 blank sheets. Nothing violent or dramatic ever happened. But those last few weeks before I quit, I felt watched. The kind of feeling you can't explain to your boss without sounding insane. Eventually, I handed in my badge and said I was taking a job closer to home. I never did. I just couldn't be in that building anymore. To this day, I still don't know what exactly happened on that floor. Maybe it really was just a freak death and my brain filled in the blanks. Or maybe not. All I know is that being alone in a dark office building at 3 a.m., with flickering lights and unexplained noises, not the dream job I signed up for. And that's it for today's stories. From pampered poodles to haunted hallways, dream jobs aren't always what they seem, huh? If you enjoyed these, do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Don't forget, drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and which story hit you the hardest, or share your own. We might feature it in the next one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay weird, stay curious, and maybe double check the break room lights tonight.